Hunter Biden finally gave a behind closed doors testimony today to the House of Representatives. Of course, Hunter gave the old line, the line that sadly much of the GOP has parroted: I did not involve my father in my business. Not while I was a practicing lawyer, not in my investments or transactions, domestic and international, not as a board member, and not as an artist. Never. That cracks me up. He still calls himself an artist. Well, obviously, as you know, you watch the show, it's not Hunter's business. Hunter doesn't have a business. Hunter has nothing to sell, no expertise of any kind. The only thing Hunter could ever sell as a cracked out 50-some-year-old loser is access to his powerful father. Hunter never had a business. Joe has a business. Let's talk to Chip about that. Joining me now, a great congressman from the state of Texas. Chip Roy was involved in this Hunter deposition today, although he is extremely limited in what he's allowed to say. So, Chip, I'm going to do what's very difficult for me, and I'm going to be delicate. I'm going to be really, really delicate here, and I'm just going to kind of open up the floor. I know you're only allowed to say a few things. You were there. We were not. Knowing that, what can you tell us about the Hunter stuff today?
Yeah, well, first, great to be on. And we're going to quickly, I just want to say some prayers for some of the people in the Panhandle in Texas. There's some pretty bad fires up there. So we're all thinking about them, even though we're up here in the swamp trying to fight for them. And look, I can't get into the specifics. Unlike my Democrat colleagues who are all too happy to go to the camera and frankly break House rules. We have specific House rules about not talking about a deposition while you're in the middle of it. But I can say, I think, which is important to say, is that, nothing that has been problematic has changed. Right? We still know that we had $15 to $20 million, a significant amount of money flowing into the Biden family. We know that this is money coming in from foreign sources. We still don't have answers on things like the exact amount of money flowing through and to Hunter Biden for a sports car from dubious sources connected to his work involving, the work in the Middle East and work involved in Ukraine and so forth. And so you've got all of these issues that we're dealing with. And you've got issues like, for example, the big guy, right? That's probably the most well-known issue in terms of the way he referred to his dad. And there's still no good answers on any of that. So without getting into the specifics of it, all of those issues that we've been made aware of, they all still exist. And I think that will continue to be made clear. Democrats are going to try to say again still that there's no there there. But the fact is all of those things, those are still there.
Chip, can you tell us, and I'm not specifically talking about today, but at any point in this whole process, have we ever gotten an answer, even a lie, about what exactly the services or goods were they were sending that way in return to, as you said, $15, $20 million? That's a whole lot of cheddar. There are a lot of Americans who'd like that kind of money. Do we know, even a lie at this point, what were you selling?
Yeah, well, interesting. That may or may not have been the center point of a significant amount of conversation among many of us just now in a sort of private pull aside. Without getting into the specifics of the deposition, I'll just say we have no good answers on this. We have no good answers on any specific deliverables. We know that there is, involvement in, liquefied natural gas. Ironically, given that the current President Biden is shutting down liquefied natural gas terminals and preventing us from being able to export that, which would obviously help Ukraine and frankly help our economy and minimize the use of coal around the world if they actually cared about CO2. But I digress. My point is there's no real indication that there was deliverables on these kinds of things. So look, again, this is in the words in the law, right? Res ipsa loquitur. That is a term that means the thing speaks for itself. What we see here before us, we know that this money flowed into the Biden world. We know that Hunter Biden was neck deep in it. We know that Joe Biden was present and around all of these conversations and dealings. At some point, you just know it when you see it. So we're going to keep having these conversations and, through the deposition, and then we'll see what happens over the next 24 hours at the end of it.
Impeachment is not something I'm confident is going to happen. This Tom Suzy or whatever his idiot name is, this Democrat just got sworn into the House today since Republicans, of course, once again joined with Democrats to bounce George Santos, so the majority's even slimmer. Chip, it's February, the end of February. We're not getting a Joe Biden impeachment, are we?
Well, I'm not going to project one way or the other, but I will say, obviously, that is an enormous lift. We're in the middle of an election season for the people to be able to make a choice. But at the end of the day, if I were going to say that Joe Biden should be impeached, you don't have to go through all of the machinations of what we're having right now with respect to the very blatant and concerns with corruption involving Hunter. You can just simply look at exactly what he's done with respect to the border, right? We did impeach Alejandro Mayorkas appropriately. Of course, the buck stops to the president. And the president of the United States has completely abandoned his duty to secure this country. And he's endangering people like this young woman, Laken Riley, in Athens, Georgia, which, by the way, side note, did you see this jackass who's the mayor of Athens going around trying to bully Trump and everyone else when he's the guy that made it a sanctuary city? Like, I can't even put into words the extent to which these radical progressive Democrats are destroying our country. And these mealy-mouthed Republicans are just sitting back and letting it happen. We talk about defunding them. We never do it. We talk about holding them accountable. We won't do it. The Speaker of the House right now should be looking straight across to Chuck Schumer, the President of the United States, and saying, look, here's what you're going to get. You're going to get a continuing resolution that triggers the caps, and you're going to get H.R. 2. We're going to send it over to you. And if you don't like it, you can shut the government down, and we'll see you in November. But no, we don't have the stones to do that. We're just going to sit back and say, thank you, sir, may I have another, like Kevin Bacon in Animal House.
Ugh, jeez. Okay, speaking of Schumer, here was Schumer today.
Johnson tried to answer, and he made it clear he wants to do something on the border, but we made it clear to him we can't tarry or the war could be lost. And second, we wanted to do border and have a tough, secure border plan, as we Democrats showed in the Senate. But he can't say, I won't do Ukraine until we get border. He's tried to do border for 6 months and couldn't come up with a single Democratic vote.
Okay, Chip, let's set aside the Ukraine border insanity. The meeting today, one, how badly are we going to get screwed out of Republicans and Democrats meeting in the White House? And two, the upcoming CR. We have not held the line once so far, so you're going to have to forgive me if I'm not overly hopeful, but please tell me I should be.
Well, my guess is what you're going to have is probably another 2-week type CR, continuing resolution, which I oppose. I will vote against. I will go speak out against. We'll end up with numbers that are probably similar to the last CR where the Republicans are split down the middle. Last time it was 107 to 106. It'll be something close to that. A big block of Democrats. And yet again, we will move a piece of legislation that more Democrats that will vote for than Republicans will. But importantly, what we ought to do, and this is where it gets confusing, even though I oppose these short-term CRs, I do not oppose a CR through the end of the year that would trigger the caps. Because if we did that, we would hold defense and veterans flat, and we would cut the non-defense bureaucracy by $70 billion. We would cut it by 10%. Now, that's not as far as you and I would go. But in this climate, if we can follow existing law that was passed under the caps deal last year on a bipartisan basis, which was weak, but it was caps, we should follow it, and then we should have a fight over finishing on the border by saying, look, guys, you want anything on Ukraine, you're not going to get it unless we deal with the border. You want any further spending on defense, you're not going to get it unless we deal with the border. If you want more, just go down that list. That's what we ought to do.